Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Welcome back to part 2 of making a clay bonsai pot. I started today by cleaning down my work area, and today I'm going to be making and attaching the feet to the bottom of the pot. So here's my pot. Yeah, seems good. The clay is still moist. It survived the night quite well in the greenhouse here. It's still soft enough that I can attach the feet onto it, so that's good. I'm going to design the feet, and I want the feet to match the top of the pot. This pot is a very simple pot. It has straight sides. It has a very small lip. I undercut the lip with my root rake here. So there's two features I can put in the feet, and one is that slight kind of lip and then the undercut. So I think I want the feet to match the top of the pot. So it'll just be this kind of pattern inverted on the feet. So I want very simple feet. I don't want to put really fancy kind of feet on a simple pot. Maybe when I make another pot, my fourth pot, I can make a fancier top on the pot and then have fancy feet to match it. I'll cover the pot up to keep it moist so it doesn't dry out. And then I'll get my clay out, and I've got to see how much I have. I need enough for 4 feet. Looks like I have lots here. So I better knead this together to make it all nice and consistent. And I'll divide it into 4 pieces, and that will be the size of my feet. Okay, that's fairly consistent. And then I'll divide it into 4. All right, here I go. In half, half again, and half again. So there's my 4 pieces for the feet. So my feet, you want it longer, the foot on the length, and shorter on the width, kind of proportional to the length of the sides. So I'm going to want kind of a 90-degree bend like that, something like that. So I'm going to attach the feet, and then I'm going to carve them on the pot. I think that'll look best. So I've got to make a sharp corner on the foot. Something like that. When I attach the feet, you've got to score the pot and then put a bit of water. Normally you have slip, which is a thin clay mixture, but I don't have any slip, so I got to make my own kind of. So I'm going to get some water out, and I'll just soften that area up where the foot is going to go, and then I'll score it. So I'll come in here, and I'll make diagonal lines. This scoring will help kind of glue the foot to the pot, like that. Then I've got to do the same for the bottom here. So I want to flatten the foot out on my wood here. That's fairly flat. I'll score it. See, this clay is a lot softer than my pot. And then I'll just wet the surface like that, get some moisture on it, and then I can glue the foot down. And again, this foot will be shaped afterwards. So I've got to kind of push it down firmly, but not too firmly that I deform the pot. And you can kind of feel if it's gripping, you know, by the way it sits on there. If it doesn't slide off or anything, you know you've got good contact with the pot. That seems really good. Like that, that's good. So I've got to do that for all 4 feet. I've got the 4 feet attached to the bottom of the pot. So the next step is to start shaping them. So I will do that. I'm going to look at it from down low here and just start kind of fixing it up. And kind of integrating it with the pot. Okay, I think that's, pushed down, secured very well. Don't think those feet are going to come off. All right, it's time to do the shaping now. This will be the fun part. I'm going to flip the pot over and then get a kind of a rough idea of how I want these feet to look. The bottom's kind of deformed a little bit, but we'll fix that. So, let's go down low and we'll look at it from the front view. I could continue this line from the edge of the pot down or make it kind of smooth, but I don't like narrow feet on the pot. You know, if I have them out further, the pot looks more stable. So I think what I want to do is put a reverse chamfer here, just a slight one, so the pot chamfers down or angles down and then angles outwards slightly. I think that'll look good. Then I'll fix my chamfer here, and then I'll put a little edge around the bottom of the feet and then that groove that matches the top. And I think that'll look good. I don't want these feet to look too heavy. The pot is quite light, the clay thickness is thin. I don't want big heavy feet on a delicate looking pot. So I want the feet to kind of match the style of the upper part of the pot. So we'll try and get the feet to look quite dainty. All right, so I need to get these feet to angle out a bit. So I think I'll do that from the top view, or from the underside, not the top. So I've got to kind of squish them out. I hope this looks good. It's my first initial impression. We'll try it. If it doesn't work, then we change it. That's what you do. And I'll be trimming down the height of the feet later on too, to make sure the pot's level, and I don't want big, thick, heavy feet on the pot. So it'll all be slimmed down. I noticed I've done some pots in 3D on the computer for 3D printing, and it's a very subtle thing, feet and the proportions of the pot. Getting them to look just right, it's not easy. But when you get it right, you know, your eye just says, yep, that's right. Okay, I've kind of got that chamfer now. So, let's flip it over and have a look at it again. Yeah, I think that looks good. Now, the inside of the feet, I definitely don't want them that long. I would say maybe at least a third off. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to kind of rough the proportions of the foot in. So here I go. And I'm going to come down on an angle. I'll try and keep the same angle as the side of the pot. So I'll do it right here. I can always move more if this isn't enough. It's looking better. Let me have a look at the pot now. See if I still need to take more off. Yeah, I think that's looking all right. I'll see, you know, when the final height and everything's set, maybe I'll have to change it a bit, but I think it's looking okay. Now I've got to do the same for the side view. So I'll flip the pot back over once again, and I'll trim the feet on the side here. And these will be, I think, to about there. Try it there. Okay, I'll have a look at that and we'll see how it looks from the side view. That looks better. Looks a little lighter. So there's a 3/4 view. Yeah, it looks nicely proportioned. Now the feet still look heavy to me, but that will get fixed. I'm just looking at the front view to see how high I want the feet. I think about half that height would look best. So the feet are quite heavy looking now. So I'll flip it over. So I want to reduce them by about half. So I will do that. I'll have to get something to kind of get them even. So something that's the right height here. I couldn't find anything the right height, so I'm just going to have to measure it. I mean, that'll work, right? I think that looks pretty good. I think that's a good height for the pot. I don't want those, as I said, I don't want, you know, big heavy feet on a light pot. And I'll be leveling these out, you know, on a flat surface in the very end to get them nice and true. Sticky clay. I've got the 4 feet done. Let's flip it over. Not done, but rough to size. Let's have a look at it and see what it looks like. Here's a look at the feet. They're just roughed in, but I think that looks good. I think the proportions look really good. I think it suits the pot. My next step will be to refine the shape of them. So I've got this chamfer underneath the pot that I want to continue around. So I'm going to work on that first. So I'm going to flip the pot over. And I'll work on that chamfer. So I want to put a chamfer all the way around here. So up there. Yeah, somewhere about there. I come in here. The clay from the foot is softer than the pot, so it's coming away quite easily. So something like that to continue that chamfer. I'll do it on this end too. I've got my chamfer roughed in here. Before I flip the pot over and have a look at it, I'm going to thin down the feet from, you know, the bottom view. They're too thick. So let's get the camera up higher and I'll show you what I'm going to do there. The feet are too heavy in this view, so I've got to shave them down. And I'm just trying to think what size, maybe here to here. Maybe there. Let me just mark it all the way across. Mark this one. Uh-oh. This could be it. This could be the zombie apocalypse. One of these days, I'm going to say that, and it's going to really happen. There'll be zombies running through my backyard. Okay, so there's the size of my feet laid out. So I'm going to sculpt away the rest of it. Trying to. The feet were very firmly attached. Like that. All right, let's flip the pot over and have a look at it. I think what it needs, you know how I have this subtle lip up here? I think I need a 1/2 foot that's stepped down a bit and sticks out a bit like the lip on the top. I think that's what it needs. So I'll make some auxiliary feet for the bottom. I've got my 4 corner pieces cut out, so I'll just rough those up and attach them to the bottom of the feet. I've got all my secondary feet attached here. So let's flip it over and have a look and see what it's looking like. Kind of evaluate the design, make sure, you know, I'm on track, that it's not looking too heavy or too high or whatever. there's a look at it, and I don't like it. It is sitting too high, so I've got to make these very subtle, I think. So I'm going to have to slim everything down. Well, that looks much better. I'm happy with that. I think it's got the right amount of feet versus pot. The proportions are good. So now it's just a matter of fixing everything up. Oh, I've got to put my groove down there too with my root rake. So I'll fix up the feet first, and then I'll run that groove across. I've got a lot of the feet cleaned up now, trying to get them, shaped nicely, smooth. So they're pretty close. Let's flip it over now and have a look at the pot. See what it's looking like. That edge really took a beating. Get that fixed up. Yeah, let's flip it over. I'm just going to kind of even out the bottom of the pot here. Kind of sagging a bit from all this footwork I did. All right, let's have a look at it. I'm looking at the pot from the front now, and it's getting close. I think this extension from the foot is maybe a little long. I think I could shorten it just a bit. Okay, yeah, I like that much better. All right, I'll clean those feet up once again. Here's a look at the pot now, and I'm really liking it. I think it has, just enough features in it to give it a bit of style. I think it's a nice, simple pot, and it'll really, when a tree is planted in it, I think the two will complement each other nicely. I think it's a nice looking pot. So I've got to start the process now of fixing up all my surfaces, getting rid of all my scratches, trying to true everything up, and all those finishing details. So I'll work away at that now. I've got a piece of wood here that I think the pot can rest on while it's drying, so it doesn't kind of sag the bottom out. I think it's yeah. So I can put the pot like that while it's drying, and that way the bottom won't sag or anything. Okay, so I've got to finish the pot. I've got a little bit more finishing work on it. I've got to just make sure the inside is finished around the lips. Oh, did I just scratch it again? My goodness, this thing's sensitive. Yeah, a little more finishing work on the inside, and then I can sign the pot. Actually, I can sign the pot now. I better do that. Now, which would be the front of the pot? I don't know. I think this would be the front of the pot. So if I was to flip it up, I would sign it this way, I guess. I don't think it makes much difference. Okay, so I'm going to sign it. I'm just going to rough it in with this. And I always just sign my initials, NRS, and the year. So let's do that. And then I got to put the year. So 2022. I think I'll write the year off to the side a little smaller. So we'll go 20. Okay, I think you can read the 2022 quite nicely, but you can't read my initials very well, so we're going to make that a little more pronounced. That will do. So just a little more finishing work to do. Just kind of brushing out the crumbs from the inside here, getting the walls a little cleaned up. Okay, I think that's it. I think I've got to leave it alone. The next step with this pot is to slowly let the clay dry over a couple of weeks at least, maybe 2 to 3 weeks. drying very slowly. So I'll keep, a damp cloth on top of it, and I'll keep it in the plant room where it's really humid, and hopefully it'll kind of slowly dry out. And when it's totally dry, then it can go in for the first firing. And if you want to put a glaze on, you need a second firing. So I don't know. I haven't decided about a glaze yet. I think I'll have to see the pot after it comes out of the first firing and then decide, well, do I need a glaze on it, or does it look good the way it is? Here's a look at the pot. It's all finished. I'm going to rotate it around. So here's maybe the front. Here's a look at the bottom of the pot. Rotating it around. You could spend hours fixing up these feet perfectly. You could. But I'm going to leave it at that. I think it'll be naturally imperfect. Here's a look inside the pot. I hope I get to plant a tree in it someday. I'm going to clean up here, and then I'll show you all 3 pots that I've made. I've made 3 in my life. I'll put them all side by side, and maybe we'll see a bit of evolution in my pot making skills. Here is a look now at the 3 pots I've made in my lifetime. Going from the earliest, which is over here. I just made a simple rectangular pot, and that was back in the year 2000. 22 years ago. Oh my goodness, time flies. And I believe this one is stoneware. High fired. The next one is the one I made at Izabela's, and a larger pot. And this is just high fired clay, so good for tropical trees. I wouldn't put this out in the frost. Now, the disadvantages of stoneware is they don't absorb any water at all, whereas a lower fired clay pot will wick moisture away from the soil. So it's actually better for, especially for succulents and that, to get a lower fired clay pot. Now this is still high fired. I mean, it'll last a lifetime. I just wouldn't leave it out in the frost at all because it's not quite as strong. It can absorb water into the clay, and then when that water freezes, it can break the clay apart. So this clay is the same as my new pot. So here's my latest one, 2022. So this will turn that nice kind of tan color when it's fired. And I don't know about a glaze. I've never done a glaze on a pot before. So maybe this will be part of the evolution, will be to get a glaze on my new pot. Yeah, we'll see if it survives the firing first, and then I'll make that decision. I really had fun over the last 2 days making that bonsai pot from clay. It's nice working with your hands and the clay. If you're interested in pottery lessons, Izabela is a fantastic teacher. She's in the Kitchener-Waterloo area, and I'll put a link to her website in the description below. I'll slowly dry my pot over the next couple of weeks, and then next time I head to Izabela's, I'll leave it there for firing. That'll be awesome. And that's all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.